Good day, viewers. Welcome back to Preaching Humanist with David Oliverio. That is I. Today, I want to talk about my passion and my vision for secular humanist communities. Now, my background, as most of you know by now, back in the 70s and 80s, I was one of those guys that started churches. I planted Pentecostal churches, 2 or 3 of them in the Waco area. I helped around the country with others, traveling and preaching. So you're going to hear a little different style today, and my desire to see humanist communities that are somewhat similar to church. And if you've been listening to my messages of late, you've known and heard me talk about how there are similarities and how we do not take the baby and throw it out with the dirty bathwater. Now, the other day, as always, as I travel around the city to my clients, I noticed large megachurches, especially in our neighborhood down here in this part of Austin. And they attract people all the time. They have large signs. They have a community of happy people that have friends and relationships. It's a movement to try and attempt to make the world better. When I started churches years ago, when I was a young 20 and 30-year-old man, years ago, I thought that Christianity and building churches for Jesus would make good, healthy, moral communities. Now, all these years later, here I am again. The same pattern which works, the same system which has been proven to work through many, many decades and centuries, similar to a church. The last I checked, we as human beings are still, and we remain, a social species. We need each other. We crave to be around groups and other people, especially like-minded people. Now, not just social clubs. I want to see humanist communities similar to some of these mega churches. Of course, without the God stuff, without the supernaturalism, without the Bible and all the other stuff. Why? Because it is more than just a secular social club, which is all good. It is also a movement. We have a wonderful message to share. It's non-coercive, but secular humanism, this philosophy, this worldview, is a good one. It's the best we've got to make the world better through humanist principles, humanist values. Through groups and communities, much good can be done. Here's what I envision. Think of coming together in a group, which is very similar to some of the groups here in Texas. We have some of the groups already in our country and worldwide. They're great. But I want to go even a step further, which is more of a movement. A Sunday morning would be coming together to celebrate life, to celebrate human existence. A festival, a festive, joyful, positive atmosphere. Not only based on science, reason, intellectualism, logic, critical thinking, but also the humanities, our emotions, music, enjoying each other, love, compassion. An upbeat community on Sunday morning where there's music, there's singers. Now, my wife and I went out to a shopping center called The Domain up in North Austin. We wore masks. We went out, which we don't do often during the COVID-19. And we went out and kept our distance, and we noticed, like anywhere else, a festive attitude. You hear music. People congregate together. They're happy. We are all the same. Now, the churches have mastered this. They know what people like. You walk in there, it's festive. There's music, there's love, there's acceptance. Now, next episode, I'm going to talk about how we attract people to these communities. Now, back in Christianity, I would teach and preach on the many-membered bodies. We're each a part of a group. That's just humanism. There's nothing supernatural there. I would say it's getting involved. Everyone getting involved. I can see a secular humanist community where every member is involved in their personal skill set, their personal abilities, and where their passions are. This is a pluralistic democracy, not run by just a few, without the authoritarianism. The management leadership, which is otherwise known as delegation, where everyone finds their place of passion to benefit the community, to benefit the world. I see department heads, similar to these large corporations or some of these mega churches. Department heads, such as outreach and promotion groups. That's my field. Promoting the community with signs and literature, children's activities, potlucks. We learn from these churches. They do that and it works. How do I know? I used to do it. And all the large mega churches that are expanding and growing exponentially, they have music. They have these groups. They have activities. They have meals together. Home groups throughout the week. People meeting in different homes, in different parts of the city, with teaching. Community activities. Organized philanthropy. Going out and helping the needy. Benevolence funds to particular needy families within our group. You take up offerings, just like churches, donations, and you use a part of that to help others who are hurting in the group. Folks, this is not just Christian. This is human. We've done that for centuries as a species. Taking care of each other, just like other social animals. Here's another department, voter registration. Here's another one, supporting Planned Parenthood. All different department heads, people that have passion for it, LGBT and women's rights, reproductive rights for women. Environmentalism, there you go. There's something under the banner of humanism. Everyone involved. State-church separation. Political advocacy. We can have people in each department who would lead it up and have 2, 3, 4 volunteers to get involved. This is how you find happiness and meaning in life. You find something that matters more than you do, devote your life to it to help others. Under secular humanism. How about youth groups? Christians have groups in high school, college groups. People within the humanist community. Youth, young people. That's what we want to do, is reach the young people. In collaboration with SSA, Secular Student Alliance. How about animal welfare? Humanism is not just about humans, but all flora and fauna. Other species of sentient animals. Getting involved to change the world through secular humanism. Now, you got to have something else in these communities. And I've noticed that many people in the atheist movement, not a lot, but some, have a fear and a great disdain for leadership. They're afraid of that authoritarianism that once many of us experienced in evangelical Christianity. We're not talking about authoritarianism, but we must have leaders. Leaders that are passionate, that are unashamed, unabashed to identify as a secular humanist who are unashamed to say, I am an atheist. I am an agnostic. My experience out there in the fields on Saturdays, when people see secular humanist or atheist signs, I am making a statement and I'm unashamed. And I can also normalize these titles, what they're really like. And that's what we want to do. You can't do that in a Christian society if you're ashamed to say what you are. Secular groups, humanist groups, atheist groups should be bold and proud and unashamed, like believers. They have signs out, Jesus is love, we love God, we follow the Lord, the Bible, whatever. We should be unashamed. A secular humanist community for those who no longer believe in a God, whatever. For unbelievers of all kinds. Communities of compassion, reason, grounded, rooted in science. I could go on and on. More effective in larger groups. We can do more in groups. A well-balanced community. Now you're probably thinking, David, you're just an idealist. This is not going to work. It sounds too churchy. As I said in my last episode, I see this change from belief in gods. Every generation, more and more people are coming to the realization they don't need to believe in gods anymore or anything supernatural. But we still are a social animal. Baby steps, making incremental small changes. The best way, again, is not the tipping point for me. That's my take. I could be wrong. But it's a slow process of change. Offering and promoting and growing these groups of unbelievers who are unashamed, making it desirable, acceptable for those who are right on the fence and letting go of belief in gods, a place they can call home. A community of loving, accepting human beings. And not only a secular social club, but add to that a movement, changing the world. Just like I used to try to do back in the 70s and 80s through Jesus, what I thought was real. Now we have a system that is real, reality, humanism. There are people out there that long for this. Not all. There are some atheists that don't want anything to do with it, and that's fine. That's okay. But for those of you out there that long for this, it is time we think about this seriously. I know what people want, and many of you do. I went into a church, a mega church down the street the other day, took pictures, talked to some people in there. I'm not out there trying to change their minds. Their minds are made up. But they know how to meet the community. They know how to attract people. Next episode, I'll talk about what they do, what we should do in our groups to attract more people. It can happen. I'm optimistic. And again, I may stand corrected one day. But I kind of think I'm onto something. And many of you know what I'm talking about. It is time for us to advance and progress. Show the world that you can have a good, wonderful life as an unbeliever, as an atheist, agnostic, secular humanist, a non-believer. Similar to Christianity, without the God stuff and all the other baggage. We've got a message. We can do it. We can share it. We can make the world better. Collectively, we're social. Let's give it a shot. All right, stay tuned for the next episode. We'll talk about how these big mega churches and how we can attract people to these communities of compassion, reason, motivated and grounded and rooted in science and humanism. Thank you so much for watching the Preaching Humanist. And remember to let the light and the compassion of secular humanism shine. Have a wonderful day.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
No, you're done.